So today I'm going to talk about a stock that I have sold. So I have sold this stock after holding it for 5 years, so a pretty decent length of time, and it gives you a clue on what stock it is. You can have a bit of a guess while I'm talking, but I have sold this stock mainly for the reason that I still quite like it, but I've seen a better opportunity, and I feel like if I move my money out of this stock and put it into this other stock, that stock will outperform it. And I'm always doing that. I'm always looking at my stocks that I own and stocks that I potentially could buy, and I go, is my money better off in this stock, or will that outperform it? And the case with this one is that I just feel like the other stock will outperform it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. If you could, hit the like button, and as always, if you could, for hitting that like button, sticking around in the last few years in this bear market. Now we're back in a bull market, and sticking around and sharing you always what I'm buying, what I'm selling. Did it through all the bear market in the last 2 years, as YouTubers disappeared off the YouTube scene, as YouTubers suddenly turned from stock pickers to finance videos to talking about the Fed instead of talking about stocks, and deleting all their stock picking history and going, no, I never told you to buy that stock when it was so. Stuck here all the time, and if you could, for sticking through the bear market, hit that like button. But let's get started on to this stock that I sold. Now, as always, you guys on the Patreon will know when I sold this in real time, and you'll also know which stock I bought. For you guys on the YouTube, I'll leave that for a couple more weeks before I tell you which stock I bought. So if you do want to get the live buy and sell alerts, join through the link in the description. It's only £5 a month, and you get my live buy and sell alerts, like I said, a Discord to talk to people about stocks, including me, and as well as that, I give you 2 exclusive videos a week. It's not bad for a price of a pint at all, and it's why it's the highest YouTube to Patreon subscribers out there on the whole stock market scene. Now, let's get on to the stock. The stock that I sold is JD.com. So I did sell my shares in JD.com, and like I said, I've held this stock for a while. I've held it for around about 5 years. So you see this dip around here is when I originally bought into the stock, and I would actually be up over 42%, but during that time frame, there's been a bit of averaging up on the position, and when I did sell it, I sold it for about break even. In fact, I actually think I sold it for a negative 1% loss, so it's not much at all really. But I did sell it because I have seen a better opportunity. But what I've got to say is that during this time frame, when I first did start buying this stock in 2018, there was actually a point I was up over 400% on this stock. And if any of you guys are OGs of the YouTube channel, you actually might remember when I was up 400% on this position, and I actually sold for 400% profit. I think I sold off a good chunk of my portfolio at 300%, and then I sold another chunk of my portfolio at 400%. So I actually, on my original investment, I've actually sold half of it off for a 3xer and a 4xer. So even though the last sale was for break even, I'll still look at this as a positive investment because of the sales that I did take a long time ago. And imagine if I didn't. Imagine if I held this stock now for 5 years and I was selling out break even. It would be a bit of a disappointment having money in the stock and not making any money on it. But yeah, it goes down as one of the best returns on the channel, which has been really good. So yeah, a little bit disappointing how it ended, but I can look back at it and go, it has been a successful investment over the last few years because of what I was able to sell out 2 years ago. Now, as well as that, if you do want to get some free shares, join the link in the description. You can get a free share worth up to £100 with Trading 212. But originally, when I bought the stock was during the China trade war. So that started around January 2018, and during that time frame, during 2018, and you can actually see it on the stock chart here, the stock actually fell 50% during that time frame, and that's where I started buying JD.com, and also I started buying Alibaba as well, which later went on to be a stock that I sold half my position out for a 100% return as well. So I used the fear around the China trade war to get this at a lower valuation. As well as that, there was a few issues around the JD.com founder at the time. There was a few allegations going around, as you can see here, which I won't mention, obviously because YouTube on the censorship side of it. But yeah, there was a few allegations going around the CEO at the time as well, and the combination of that and the China trade war did start pushing the stock down by 50%, and then it would go on to rally. And what we've seen basically since that time frame is then a repeat of 2008, but for a little bit longer as well. And definitely an interesting opportunity in Chinese stocks at the moment. With JD.com, the reason obviously I'm selling is because I've seen a better opportunity somewhere. But I mean, 13 times earnings, you'd go, that's not too bad for a company. But when you start looking at the number, the recent quarter is negative 2% growth. Next quarter, analysts are expecting a rebound, but overall a basically flat year for growth. And then next year they're expected to go up to 6% growth, which is okay. When you look at the average EPS, we're expecting the EPS to go from 257 to 297, and then the year after we're expecting 327. So the EPS is going up nicely at the moment, and the revenue growth is good. You know, a lot of companies would not mind to have this growth and this EPS growth. The problem is that when you're a Chinese company, obviously you trade at a lower multiple. So even though those numbers are good, when I look at the multiple of the company, I'm going, it's never going to trade much more as a premium. Like, it's never probably now going to go up over 20 times earnings. And as well as that, you know, JD.com is now at the point where it is the slowest growth I've ever owned it at. You know, when I originally started buying this company in 2018, this was a company growing like 30+% a year. So I'm in a little bit of a situation now where I look at JD and I go, the numbers still look good, and I still think it'll be okay. But when you're growing at 6% a year and you're already trading at 13 times earnings, realistically, this is never going to trade at a premium because it's a Chinese stock. So the upside for me is a little bit more limited. And when I look at the profitability, I always thought the profitability would scale a lot more than what it is doing. And I would like to have a bit more chunky profit margins than what's currently going on there. And then to compare it to a stock that I have bought, which I will reveal in a few weeks' time, like I said, the stock that I have bought is a little bit more expensive, but on a forward times earnings around about 20. So it's a little bit more than this one here, so bear that in mind. But when you look at the numbers of the stock that I bought, and well done if you can guess it from this screenshot I've taken here, but you can see here that the difference is that a year ago they were doing $3.83, and then they're going to $5.71. And then from $5.71, next year they're expected to go to $7.25. And this year they've just grown at 81%. Next year they're expected to grow nearly 40%. So when you compare this to JD numbers, that the EPS is growing up by 10%, I'm buying a company where the EPS is growing by 50%. When you look at the revenue growth, flat growth this year, 6% growth next year, the company I bought is doing 81% and then potentially doing 40%, 39% next year. Mega difference between these numbers. And like I said, when you look on a valuation basis, I can pick this one up for 13 times earnings, or the one that I'm actually picking up is going to be trading around about 20 times forward earnings. So sure, I'm picking this new stock up for a bit more of a premium than what JD.com is, but there's just no comparison with the numbers. There's a big difference, and very quickly the stock that I have bought, I feel like even though it's a little bit more of a bit more of a rich valuation, it could potentially grow into that valuation so much more quickly than when I look at something like a JD.com. And I just feel like when I look at this new stock, it is got the more upside than JD.com when obviously you're looking at these sort of numbers. So I do look at JD.com and I do think like if the company does hit these numbers, the company should still do pretty decent going forward. I just feel like the valuation and the growth I'm getting with the other one is a lot better than JD.com, and as well as that, the profit ramp up in the other company, the profit margins are so much more better, and the profit ramp up is so much better. It makes me feel a lot more confident that that stock will always be able to trade at a bit more of a premium than this one because of the bigger profit margins and the growth, and they'll also have more cash to potentially go pay dividends or buy back shares than what currently JD.com will be able to do, because obviously when you look at this company here, convert the profit to US dollars, it's around 2 billion profit a year. I mean, 2 billion on a 40 billion company, I mean, you might be able to buy some shares back, but it's not a major amount, or potentially on a dividend, it's not going to be a major dividend. So yeah, that's ultimately where I've kind of decided to switch from anyway. So yeah, hope you enjoy this video on Friday, updating you with a move that I have made in the portfolio. If you could hit the like button, that sounds amazing. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit.